The hegemony delegation departed Earth's atmosphere with something unfamiliar churning in their guts: doubt. Kivex's mandibles clicked in agitation as their shuttle docked with the command vessel Inevitable Dominance. "Report," demanded Fleet Commander Zex Toril, his massive frame dominating the bridge. His species, the Vrector, had been the original architects of the hegemony, their physical size matched only by their appetite for conquest. "The humans are unusual, Commander," Kivex replied, compound eyes shifting nervously. They showed neither fear nor proper deference. Their military representative, a female called Vasquez, warned us against aggression. Zex Toril's thunderous laugh echoed through the command deck. "They all warn us." The Canopians threatened ecological warfare. The Moravians promised divine intervention. Yet their worlds now serve as resource extraction colonies. This was different, the ambassador insisted. They were prepared. Our scans detected active weapon systems that weren't there when we arrived. The humans somehow deployed them during our meeting without our sensors detecting the launches. The commander's amusement faded. "Impossible. Our quantum detection grid catches even cloaked mass movements." Senior analyst Val Noor stepped forward, her slender form characteristic of the Tellurians, the hegemony's foremost scientists. "Permission to speak, Commander. I've completed preliminary analysis of Earth's transmissions and history. Their communication networks are remarkably unprotected by our standards, a treasure trove of intelligence." She activated a holographic display showing Earth's historical conflicts. "This species has no unified government. They've spent millennia fighting themselves, developing weapons specifically to kill other humans. They've had nuclear capabilities for over 2 centuries, but haven't destroyed themselves, suggesting remarkable restraint or sophisticated deterrent protocols. Primitive atomics pose no threat to our shielding," Zex Toril dismissed. "That's not my concern," Val Noor continued. "My concern is their adaptability. In merely 3 centuries, they advanced from basic combustion engines to rudimentary interplanetary travel. Their wartime technological development curve exceeds any species we've encountered." In his private quarters later, Zex Toril reviewed the data personally. Earth's military capabilities were indeed inferior to the hegemony's, but something troubled him: inconsistencies in their energy signatures. Certain facilities showed power outputs far exceeding their apparent industrial capacity, and their space presence was oddly limited for a species clearly capable of greater expansion. "They're hiding something," he muttered. His communications officer interrupted with urgent news. "Commander, we've detected unusual activity in Earth's asteroid belt. Mining operations are accelerating drastically. They appear to be extracting resources at unsustainable rates." "They're preparing for war," Zex Toril realized. Interesting. Most species waste time with futile diplomatic overtures. He made his decision. "Accelerate our timeline. We attack in 15 days, not 30. Their warning was a bluff, an attempt to delay while they build defenses. As the commander issued orders, he failed to notice a critical detail in Val Noor's report. Earth had experienced 63 major cyberattacks on its military networks since the hegemony's arrival, each originating from the aliens' own communication systems. The humans weren't trying to keep the hegemony out of their networks. They were letting them in. In her office beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Vasquez watched real-time intelligence streams as the hegemony accessed exactly the information she wanted them to see. Beside her, General Wei Chen nodded in satisfaction. "They took the bait," he said. "Trap 1 is set. Begin Phase 2, Vasquez ordered. And alert the Ghost Fleet commanders." The hegemony just shortened their own deadline. As Dr. Chen was escorted from the War Council chamber, he activated the quantum entanglement device surgically embedded beneath his thumbnail. The infinitesimal pulse confirmed his mission's success. The hegemony had rejected humanity's warning, exactly as predicted. Back on the council station, General Zexvora studied the human historical records, searching for weaknesses rather than understanding the warning they contained. The water conflicts of the 2040s particularly intrigued him. Humans had fought viciously over a resource that comprised 70% of their planet's surface. Inefficient, he muttered. They waste energy fighting over abundant resources. Senior Tactician Mevler approached cautiously. General, our intelligence division has completed analysis of human military capabilities. Their largest vessels are merely 300 meters in length, with primitive chemical propulsion and nuclear weaponry. Their defensive systems cannot withstand our photon cannons. Then why their confidence? Sexvora demanded. Psychological warfare. Likely, Medler suggested. Our xenopsychologists believe humans use bluffing as a deterrent strategy. Their game called poker demonstrates this cultural trait. The general's 6 eyes narrowed. Have they detectable superweapons? Planet killers? Stellar manipulation technology? Negative. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear-tipped missiles and kinetic bombardment platforms, effective for their development stage, but primitive by our standards. Zexvora gestured toward the holographic display still showing Earth's conflicts. These humans fascinate me. Look how they slaughtered each other over ideology, territory, resources, yet they've avoided extinction. Most species require our guidance to survive their destructive phase. He clicked his mandibles in decision. Prepare a precision strike on their orbital defenses, followed by tactical bombardment of military installations. Minimize civilian casualties. They'll make excellent labor for the mineral extraction colonies. Aboard the stealth observation vessel Athena, Dr. Chen materialized on the quantum teleportation pad. The technology, reverse-engineered from artifacts discovered beneath Antarctica, remained unstable and agonizing, but the mission demanded its use. Transmission successful? Asked Colonel Tasha Rodriguez, the vessel's commander. Chen nodded, wincing as nanobots repaired cellular damage from the teleportation. The hegemony received exactly the historical record we prepared. They're interpreting it precisely as Strategic Command predicted, as evidence of primitive self-destructive tendencies rather than adaptive military evolution. Rodriguez's lips tightened, and the biosamples. Delivered via atmospheric contact. Their environmental systems will distribute the nanoprobes throughout their fleet within hours. On holographic displays surrounding them, Earth's true defensive preparations unfolded. The massive orbital platforms visible to hegemony sensors were indeed decoys, but what the aliens couldn't detect were the thousands of stealth platforms positioned at Lagrange points throughout the solar system. Each housed quantum phase weaponry that existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, technology derived from the same Antarctic discovery. The hegemony believes we're showing them our history to intimidate them, Chen remarked. They don't understand we're showing them their future. Admiral Vasquez's voice came through the secure quantum channel. Phase 3 initiated. Ghost Fleet, proceed to jump positions. Lunar facilities, begin awakening the Guardians. Far beneath the lunar surface, in chambers built before humans first walked upright, ancient machines stirred to life. Humanity's inheritance from a precursor civilization that had fallen to the hegemony eons ago. The same civilization that had seeded Earth with both genetic modifications and technological catches, preparing their descendants for the inevitable day when the conquerors returned. The trap wasn't just set. It was generations in the making. Captain Ramen watched the Ravian swarms complete their work through the quantum visualization matrix. Countless microscopic machines, each no larger than a human blood cell, had infiltrated the hegemony vessels through shield fluctuation points her team had identified during the aliens' first approach to Earth. Targeting neural networks disengage, her XO, Commander Takahashi, reported. Their primary targeting systems and navigational arrays are compromised. 16 hegemony capital ships effectively blind. Raman nodded, her expression unchanged. And the detamine. Complete. We've extracted their complete tactical database, jump coordinates for 17 systems, and technical specifications for their propulsion technology. The bridge of the tenacity fell silent as the implications settled in. In a single strike, without destroying a single enemy vessel, They had neutralized the threat and gained intelligence that would have taken years to gather through conventional means. "Permission to speak freely, Captain," asked Lieutenant Commander Okafor, the ship's tactical officer. "Granted. The hegemony doesn't understand what just happened. Their systems show minor malfunctions, not a comprehensive network breach. We could destroy their entire fleet right now while they're vulnerable." Raman turned to the holographic display showing the disabled alien vessels. "That's not our mission, Lieutenant." Strategic Command was explicit. "Demonstrate capability without revealing our full technological advantage." Deep within the flagship Inevitable Conquest, the hegemony's most decorated naval commander, Grand Admiral Kivex Toral, raged at his subordinates. "Impossible. Systems don't simply malfunction simultaneously across 16 vessels." His chief engineer, a six-limbed Moravian named Tolzan, cowered appropriately. "The diagnostics show no external breach. Admiral, no energy weapons were fired at us. No explosive devices detected. It appears to be a cascading software failure." "We do not have software failures," the Admiral roared. "Our systems are quantum encrypted and multi-redundant. This is human sabotage." On a secondary screen, the human transmission continued to play on loop. "This was merely one defensive system. Return home while you still can." The Admiral's rage suddenly cooled, replaced by calculating focus. "Activate secondary command systems. Bypass all primary networks. Prepare to launch pulse kinetic bombardment against their orbital platforms. We will not be humiliated by a primitive species." Unnoticed by either officer, a microscopic observer monitored their conversation, transmitting every word back to Earth through subspace channels that the hegemony science had yet to discover. In the Strategic Command bunker beneath Geneva, Admiral Vasquez received the intelligence in real time. "They're deploying kinetics," she informed the gathered Joint Chiefs. "Exactly as predicted." Defense Minister Cheng nodded grimly. "Trigger the resonance trap." "Not yet," Vasquez replied. "Let them commit more forces. The Ravian infiltration was just the demonstration. Let's see how they respond to an actual defeat." She opened a secure channel to Luna Base. "General Shaw, you have authorization to activate the gravity lens arrays. Remember, target only military vessels, minimal casualties. We're making a point, not starting an extermination." Across Earth's dark side, enormous facilities previously disguised as mining operations powered up. The technology, a hybrid of human innovation and recovered precursor science, could manipulate gravitational fields with surgical precision. As the hegemony launched their kinetic bombardment, they remained unaware that the very fabric of space-time around their vessels was being subtly reshaped. The first volley of alien projectiles, launched with devastating force, began to follow impossibly curved trajectories, returning directly toward their points of origin. Commander Jackson Chen observed the hegemony vessels breaking formation as they scrambled to counter the Ghost Fleet's unexpected attack pattern. His great-grandfather's ancient text, The Art of War, lay open on his command console, its wisdom guiding humanity's defense even after 25 centuries. "Quantum entanglement signatures detected," reported Lieutenant Santos. "They're calling for reinforcements." Chen nodded calmly. "As expected, monitor the quantum bands. I want to know the moment their distress signal reaches their nearest outpost." "Already tracking, sir." Signal propagation suggests their nearest reinforcements are in the Proxima system. Chen allowed himself a brief smile. "Perfect. Right where we want them." The Ghost Fleet's vessels, despite their apparent numerical disadvantage, moved with uncanny coordination. Unlike conventional military hierarchies, each ship captain had complete tactical autonomy within the strategic framework, a command structure the hegemony's rigid military doctrine couldn't comprehend, much less counter. Aboard the hegemony command vessel Subjugator, Admiral Corvus struggled to make sense of the battle unfolding around him. "How are they anticipating our maneuvers?" "We're using randomized attack vectors." His tactical officer, a veteran of 30 conquest campaigns, appeared genuinely shaken. "Admiral, analysis suggests they're not reacting to our movements. They're positioning before we execute, almost as if." "As if what?" Corva demanded. "As if they've already fought this battle." In the asteroid belt, a massive chunk of rock, designated MT-37, suddenly changed its tumbling rotation. Hidden thrusters, dormant for years, ignited with precision. What appeared to be a common metallic asteroid revealed itself as humanity's ultimate countermeasure, a Jupiter mass gravity manipulator using technology even Earth's best scientists didn't fully understand, recovered from deep space probes that had ventured beyond the heliopause. Within the heavily shielded control center inside MT-37, Dr. Eliza Kermani monitored the device's power curve. Quantum fluctuations stabilizing. Reality anchor points locked. "We're ready to execute the fold." Her colleague, Dr. Han, looked up from his console with concern. "The hegemony reinforcements will be here in less than an hour. Once we activate the fold, there's no hiding what we're capable of." "That's the point," Kermani replied. Admiral Vasquez was explicit. "This demonstration needs to be unambiguous." Meanwhile, in a parallel engagement occurring 20 light minutes from the main battle, Commander Fatima al-Zahawi's stealth corvettes intercepted the hegemony's automated scout drones. These small vessels, barely 30 meters long and crewed by only 7 people each, represented humanity's approach to space warfare, emphasizing minimal cross-sections, maximum maneuverability, and technological superiority over brute force. Drone signatures neutralized. Al-Zahawi confirmed over the encrypted channel. Their fleet is now operating without forward reconnaissance. Deep within Earth's Luma, in a facility unknown even to most of Earth's military leadership, the final phase of humanity's defense plan awakened. The Lazarus Protocol, named for the biblical figure who rose from the dead. Initialized as 300 cryogenically preserved soldiers were revived. These weren't ordinary combatants, but men and women who had volunteered for the most extreme genetic modifications possible, their DNA spliced with recovered extraterrestrial genetic material. General Maya Richards watched as her soldiers, no longer fully human, prepared for deployment. Each possessed abilities that would have seemed supernatural to earlier generations: accelerated healing, enhanced strength, and neural interfaces that connected directly to Earth's defense grid. "Exosuit integration complete," her XO reported. "Boarding teams ready for deployment." Richards nodded gravely. "Operation Trojan Horse is go." Director Sofia Ndlovu's Operation Looking Glass was unfolding with precision across 17 hegemony worlds. On Terras IG, Agent Miguel Sanchez, genetically modified to pass as a member of the Vorkath species, had spent 3 years building an underground resistance network. Tonight, they struck their first major target. Primary shield generators disabled. Sanchez reported through the quantum-encrypted neural implant that transmitted directly to Earth. Native resistance forces moving to seize the orbital defense platform. Inside the hegemony's primary shipyard orbiting Taurus IV, the supposedly loyal Vorkath workers, over 2,000 of them, simultaneously abandoned their tasks. Security systems registered the anomaly too late as the workers moved with synchronized purpose toward the station's command center. Similar coordinated actions unfolded across the Empire. On Meridian, the hegemony's agricultural hub, irrigation systems mysteriously rerouted caustic fertilizers into the living quarters of military overseers. On Helios Prime, their primary fuel refinery, unexplained energy fluctuations disabled production, just as the reinforcement fleet desperately needed resupply. At the diplomatic station, Ambassador Teresa Kwan maintained her serene demeanor despite the hegemony representative's growing agitation. Supreme Diplomatic Minister Xerthek's translucent skin had turned a mottled purple, a physiological sign of extreme stress in his species. "These incidents cannot be coincidence," he hissed. "Your kind has somehow infiltrated our secure worlds." "Perhaps," Kwan replied, sliding another datapad across the table. Or perhaps you're experiencing the consequences of systematic oppression. Subjugated peoples eventually resist. It's a historical constant we've observed in our own development. The datapad displayed live feeds of 17 simultaneous uprisings. Sir, Thek's compound eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. We've ruled these worlds for centuries. The subject species are genetically engineered for compliance. Quan's smile remained diplomatic. An interesting approach. Humanity took a different path. We engineered ourselves for adaptation instead. Back on Earth, within the Quantum Intelligence Division's headquarters beneath the Alps, Director Ndlovu monitored the cascading disruptions spreading through hegemony space. Her team of psionic operators, humans with rare genetic markers allowing limited telepathic abilities, maintained constant contact with deep cover agents. Phase 3 complete, her deputy reported. 87% of planned sabotage operations successful. Hegemony communication networks compromised. Their central command is effectively isolated from colonial administrators. Ndlovu nodded with satisfaction. And the informational warfare component. Broadcasting on all frequencies they haven't managed to shut down yet. We estimate 63% of subjugated populations have received Dr. Okafor's liberation message. On a holographic display, hegemony space appeared as a three-dimensional map with spreading red indicators marking rebellion hotspots. What had begun as isolated insurgencies were rapidly connecting, forming coordinated resistance zones. Director, a junior analyst interrupted. We've detected unusual energy signatures from the hegemony homeworld. They appear to be activating their reserve fleet. Ndlovu's expression remained impassive. Expected. They're committing their final strategic reserve. Alert Admiral Vasquez. The hegemony has reached desperation threshold. She turned to her psionic communications specialist. Send the coded phrase to all field agents. Marathon is run. They'll understand. Across hegemony space, human infiltrators received the message through various means, some through quantum entanglement, others through conventional signals hidden in background radiation. Each understood the reference to the ancient Greek messenger who ran from Marathon to Athens to deliver news of victory before collapsing. The final phase was beginning. The operatives had completed their primary mission. Now they would implement their extraction protocols, or their contingency measures if escape proved impossible. Human sacrifice had always been part of the plan. Dr. Amara Okafor's broadcast continued spreading through hegemony space like a digital wildfire, adapting to each attempted countermeasure. When the aliens blocked conventional transmission frequencies, the message piggybacked on their own military communications. When they shut down public information terminals, the message appeared on personal devices. When they disabled those, holographic projections materialized in public squares. On the mineral-rich world of Terrace IV, resistance leader Miguel Sanchez watched as thousands of Teresian natives, a species whose natural skin luminescence had been exploited for centuries in hegemony light farms, gathered in the capital's central plaza. Their bodies glowed with an intensity that illuminated the night, a biological response to their heightened emotional state. "We thought we were alone," said Elder Kirna, her translucent fingers trembling as she examined the weapon schematics Sanchez had provided. "For 10 generations, we believed no one in the galaxy would stand against the conquerors." Sanchez adjusted his hole of disguise, the Vorkath appearance flickering momentarily to reveal his human features. "You were never alone. We've been watching, waiting for the right moment. The hegemony's strength is also their greatest weakness. They can't imagine being defeated, so they never prepare for it." Across the plaza, Teresian resistance fighters moved with newfound purpose, retrofitting agricultural equipment into makeshift weapons using the specifications Earth had provided. The designs were elegantly simple, requiring minimal resources, but exploiting specific vulnerabilities in hegemony armor and shield technologies. Meanwhile, in the hegemony Supreme Council chambers, chaos reigned. Emergency reports flooded in from across their territory. 17 simultaneous uprisings, critical infrastructure failures, military communications compromised. The Council's eternal chairman, Zex Mortok, smashed a communications terminal in rage. How is this possible? He demanded of his trembling intelligence director. How could primitives who have barely mastered interplanetary travel coordinate attacks across our entire empire? The intelligence director, a high-ranking Tellurian named Velshar, displayed holographic evidence of human infiltration dating back decades. We've discovered evidence that they've been placing deep cover agents since their early space exploration era. Before we even knew of their existence, they were studying us. Impossible. Their first detectable transmissions were less than 3 centuries ago. Velshar hesitated before revealing the most disturbing discovery. Chairman, we've uncovered references in human historical archives to an ancient civilization they call the Forerunners, a species that evidently warned humanity about our existence millennia ago. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled. Supreme General Vexcor finally spoke, mandibles clicking nervously. The Illuminatus campaign. The precursor species we eradicated 12,000 cycles ago. They couldn't have reached Earth. It was beyond our galactic quadrant. Evidently, Velshar replied. Some escaped, and they prepared their human protege as well. On the outer edges of hegemony space, the dormant monitoring station S9 activated for the first time in 9,000 years. This facility, one of dozens established by the precursor species known to humans as the Forerunners, had waited patiently, gathering intelligence on hegemony movements, transmitting data through subspace channels undetectable to alien technology. Inside Station S9, a holographic interface awakened, displaying a message in ancient Forerunner script alongside its human translation. Protocol Vengeance Prime activated. Hegemony Central Defense Grid access codes recovered. Ascension weapons platforms standing by. The children of Earth have fulfilled their covenant. Retribution cycle commencing. In Earthside Command, Admiral Vasquez received confirmation that the final pieces of humanity's multi-generational plan were falling into place. The Forerunner legacy, hidden beneath Earth's oceans, within Mars' polar caps, and in the moons of Jupiter, was awakening. Send final warning to all hegemony vessels, she ordered. One last chance to withdraw completely. As the hegemony's doomsday weapon, the artificial pulsar, powered up at the edge of the solar system, its energy signature rippled through subspace. The weapon was their ultimate technological achievement. A gravitational singularity wrapped in engineered neutron star material, capable of emitting directed radiation bursts that could sterilize an entire planetary system. Within the Mobius Array Control Center, Dr. Eliza Kermani monitored the dimensional stability readings with unwavering focus. The technology, part Forerunner legacy, part human innovation, manipulated the fabric of space-time in ways that defied conventional physics. Pulsar discharge imminent, announced her systems analyst. Targeting lock confirmed. They're aiming for Earth's core. Kermani nodded calmly. Mobius configuration Alpha 7. Target their command ship for the redirected energy. The array, a network of 12 stations positioned strategically throughout the solar system, hummed with power as it bent reality itself. What humans had discovered beneath Earth's oceans weren't merely weapons or ships, but the fundamental mathematics of space-time manipulation. The Forerunners hadn't given humanity fish. They had taught them to fish in the 11-dimensional sea of quantum reality. Aboard the Hegemony Command Vessel Eternal Dominion, Supreme Admiral Zex Corva watched with savage satisfaction as the pulsar weapon reached full power. The humans had their chance. Now they will understand true power. His crew, representatives of the hegemony's original 17 species, stood at their stations with the certainty of those who had never known defeat. Pulsar firing sequence initiated, reported his weapons officer. Impact in 30 seconds. The massive energy beam erupted from the artificial pulsar, a concentrated stream of destructive radiation that could penetrate planetary crusts and disrupt molecular bonds. It streaked toward Earth with unstoppable force. until it encountered the Mobius field. For a moment, the beam seemed to vanish entirely. Then, impossibly, it reappeared, emerging from empty space directly behind the Hegemony Command Fleet. Admiral Zek's corvette had just enough time to comprehend what had happened before the Eternal Dominion was engulfed by the very weapon they had deployed. The massive vessel, along with 7 support ships, disintegrated instantly as molecular bonds were severed by the redirected pulsar beam. In Earth's Orbital Defense Command, Admiral Vasquez observed the aftermath on tactical displays. Target their remaining capital ships with the gravity lance. Disable engines only. I want survivors to carry the message home. The gravity lance, another forerunner technology adapted by human engineers, fired invisible beams that increased localized gravitational forces by factors of thousands. Hegemony vessels suddenly found themselves pulled by impossible forces, their hulls crumpling under gravitational shear that their shields were never designed to withstand. Aboard his crippled vessel, the highest-ranking surviving Hegemony officer, Vice Admiral Curvex, stared in disbelief at the tactical display. Their unstoppable armada now drifted in ruins, disabled by weapons that shouldn't exist. Most disturbing of all, the humans had clearly calibrated their attacks to minimize casualties rather than maximize them. "Open a channel to their command," he ordered, his voice hollow with the knowledge of defeat. On his view screen appeared Admiral Vasquez, her expression neither triumphant nor vengeful, merely resolute. "You were warned, Admiral. War with Earth meant your destruction." "What are your terms?" Curvex asked, mandibles clicking in submission. "Unconditional withdrawal from this system, followed by representatives to discuss your empire's dismantling," Vasquez replied. "The age of the hegemony is over. The question is whether your species wish to be part of what comes next." Behind her, holographic displays showed the full extent of what humanity had concealed. A defense grid extending beyond Neptune's orbit, weapons platforms emerging from dimensional pockets where they had remained hidden, and most ominously, the activation signals of thousands more Forerunner facilities throughout hegemony space, sleeper cells waiting millennia for this moment. 6 months after the hegemony surrender, New Geneva bustled with activity unlike anything seen in human history. The massive transparent dome of the Galactic Cooperative Headquarters, built with technology that made it virtually indestructible, housed representatives from over 500 formerly subjugated worlds. In a private chamber away from the main assembly, High Chancellor Xanvok of the former hegemony studied the terms of the new Galactic Charter with disbelief. The document before him outlined power-sharing provisions, technological exchange protocols, and mutual defense pacts, a framework for genuine cooperation rather than domination. "I still don't understand," he admitted to Admiral Vasquez, who sat across from him. "You could have destroyed us completely. The Forerunner weapons platforms give you control of our core worlds. Why offer partnership instead of punishment?" Vasquez's gaze drifted to the window, where Earth gleamed blue and peaceful. "Because we've already walked that path to its conclusion." She activated a holographic display showing Earth's pre-spaceflight history. The ruins of ancient Rome, the ashes of Dresden, the radioactive remains of Hiroshima. Every civilization reaches crossroads where they must choose between dominance and cooperation. We chose dominance many times before learning better. Xanvok's compound eyes shifted uncomfortably. The hegemony never had that choice. Our original homeworld was resource poor. Expansion was survival. And now, Vasquez challenged. Your 17 founding species have controlled thousands of worlds for millennia. Was the continued subjugation of others still about survival, or had it become about power for its own sake? The alien leader had no response. Meanwhile, in the main assembly chamber, Dr. Amara Okafor presented the Forerunner archive discoveries to an audience of former enemies and newfound allies. The data recovered from Antarctica and Mars revealed startling truths about galactic history. how the Forerunners had seeded compatible worlds with their genetic material before the hegemony destroyed their civilization, creating an insurance policy that had taken 12,000 years to mature. "We are all connected," she explained to the assembled delegates. "Human DNA contains Forerunner sequences, so do the genomes of 23 other species in this assembly, including 3 of the original hegemony founders." The revelation sent shockwaves through the gathering. Species that had been bitter enemies discovered shared ancestry. Oppressors and oppressed found common genetic heritage. Outside the formal proceedings, in the gardens surrounding the cooperative headquarters, Dr. Marcus Chen sat with his counterpart from the former hegemony, Grand Historian Val Turak. Together they reviewed the true galactic timeline, reconciling the incomplete histories of 100 civilizations. "We erased them," Val Turak admitted, translucent fingers tracing the record of the Forerunner genocide. The hegemony's official history called them instability agents threatening cosmic order. Chen nodded gravely. "Human history is similarly sanitized. Our greatest atrocities are often reframed as necessary steps toward progress. What prevents this cooperative from becoming another hegemony?" the alien historian asked. "Power corrupts all species." Chen gestured toward the distant spacecraft departing Earth's atmosphere, the first joint human-alien expedition to explore beyond known space. "Because we're not building this on power, but on something the hegemony never understood: genuine curiosity and shared discovery." As the council session adjourned, Admiral Vasquez received an urgent communication from Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Network. The quantum-encrypted message contained data on unusual radiation patterns from beyond the galactic rim, patterns matching no known natural phenomenon. "Send this to Dr. Chen immediately," she ordered, "and alert the Cooperative Defense Committee." The message was clear. Whatever lurked beyond the rim had been watching. The fall of the hegemony had caught its attention. Humanity's next test was already approaching.